I used to think trust was something you declared, a promise you reinforced over time. Emily and I had shared nearly 4 years together. Years, I believe, were enough to prove our commitment to one another. She was vibrant, magnetic, always surrounded by people, while I preferred quieter evenings, soft conversations, and calm. It began a week before a company's summer gathering. Over dinner, she mentioned it casually. "This year, it's at Mason's Lake House," she said, twirling her fork. "Everyone's bringing a partner, but you don't like those crowds, so we'll just go with the team." I didn't react immediately. I knew Mason and some of her colleagues from before. Mason, especially, had charm that felt rehearsed, flattery that never missed a beat. Last time, he'd joke about Emily's outfit, a comment that had made her laugh, though not genuinely. I whispered, "If Mason's hosting, be careful. I heard last year's party got out of hand." She frowned. "Ethan, you're overthinking again. It's just a party." "Sometimes just a party is where lines vanish," I said quietly. She rolled her eyes and moved on. That was the first time I noticed a gap forming between us. The evening arrived quickly. She wore a fitted black top and jeans. Simple, striking. I offered to drive her. She declined. "Relax," she said, kissing my cheek. "I'll text you when I'm back." Hours passed. Midnight, 1, 2, nothing. At 2:15 a.m., I gave up pretending to sleep and called her repeatedly. No answer. At 3 a.m., a single message appeared. "I'll explain tomorrow. Don't wake up." My stomach sank. Morning came. I sat at the kitchen table, cold coffee beside me. When she finally came home, disheveled, sweatshirt not hers, smudged makeup, I didn't speak at first. "Coffee still warm," I said. She nodded, holding herself stiffly. "I need you to hear me before you say anything," she said, voice trembling. I already knew something had shifted. "I drank too much," she admitted. Mason offered guests a place to crash. I stayed in the guest room. She waited for me to respond. I didn't feel anger yet, only emptiness. She tried to fill the silence. "Nothing happened," she said. "Just a kiss." I stopped it immediately. I wanted to believe her, but small confessions often mask larger truths. "You ignored me to avoid being proven wrong," I said. Tears welled in her eyes. "It wasn't planned, Ethan. No one plans betrayal." She pleaded, "I'll quit that job. I'll block him. I'll do anything." I searched her face with a woman I knew, but all I saw was someone unfamiliar, swallowed by panic and guilt. The rest of the day blurred. Her cry in the bedroom, me wandering through town, eventually sitting by the lake where the party had been. Empty, save for a few discarded beer bottles. The silence felt accusatory. By evening, she texted, "Please come home. Let's talk." When I returned, she had packed a bag. "If you need space, it'll stay at my sister's," she said. I nodded. Words were useless now. Silence was the only language left. Days became weeks. She sent long messages, apologies that recast guilt into mistakes. I didn't respond. Forgiveness requires rebuilding, and the foundation had fractured too deeply. A month later, an envelope arrived. Her handwriting, familiar, elegant. Inside, a photo of us laughing by the coast years ago, and a letter. If I could return to that night, I'd leave before the party. "You wore me out of love." I ignored it for freedom, only to learn that freedom without respect is loneliness. I read it 3 times, then placed it with old postcards, not as hope, but as memory. The following weekend, I drove to that lake house, not to see her, but to let go. Pine-scented air, rain on my skin. I skipped stones across the lake, watching the ripples fade, and understood betrayal doesn't always end with anger. Sometimes it ends quietly, with the acceptance that warnings are gifts. Back home, the apartment felt lighter, empty but peaceful. I made coffee and whispered the truth I had avoided. You cannot save someone who mistakes care for control. The next morning, I mailed her letter back with a single line added. "You were right. It was just a party. And like most parties, it ended when the lights came on.